It's the year that Marty McFly went back to the future. It's the year where we all kind of freaked out when we realized that it was the year that Marty McFly went back to the future. Or maybe that was just me. It's also the year where Peter Norwalk, who writes for the Canadian Business Journal, says that self-driving cars are almost ready to be on the roads. They're just a little too crashy still. And it's also the year where just about everything we own is either a computer or tied to a computer. Everything, from our cell phones, to our calculators, to our cute little baby nephew's pacifier, is somehow tied back to a computer. And it sends real-time data back and forth between the pacifier and my phone, so I can know exactly what's going on at any point in time. But what blows my mind is that with all the computers that are around us, most people don't actually know how to make computers work. More importantly, they don't know how to make computers work for them. So over the course of this speech, I'm going to tell you why we have such a problem with not knowing how to program computers, what the cause is of this problem, and then a two-part solution as to how we can fix this. So to start off, let's dive a little bit deeper into the problem of not knowing how to program a computer. According to a Forbes magazine article by James Berman, Warren Buffett is quoted saying, "Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing." Now granted, some risk is good for everybody. It keeps us on our toes, it keeps us ready, it keeps us moving forward. However, when we have a lot of risk, a life full of risk, we have uncertainty pooling all over, right beneath our feet, and we're not even aware of it. See, when we're surrounded by things that we don't know about, namely in this case computers, we are just standing in this puddle of risk. And that puddle can grow and become a pool and then an ocean. You see, for 2 years I worked in the web development industry. And for just about a year I've owned my own web development company. And during the time that I've owned this company, we got a job for a maintenance firm out in Arizona. And she asked us to do a website. We did the website, gave it to her, it was great, in my humble opinion. And we set it off, and it was all done. A few days later, we got a call asking us to fly out to Arizona. We were really confused as to why this was going on because we'd already finished the website. It was done, packaged, and sent off. Well, when I inquired as to why she wanted us to fly out there, she said that she wanted us to come out to Arizona so we could install the website on her Internet Explorer. For those of you who don't know, that's not how the internet works. That's why you didn't have to install Facebook the first time you used it. And you see, it's things like these that happen over and over and over again in any sort of technological realm. And it's that kind of risk that can cause you to be taken advantage of by people who are less than ethical. But why is this happening? Why do we as Americans have such a lack of knowledge about how to make technology work for us? Well, there are a few different causes. First and foremost, when people talk about coding, and talk about computer programming, they make it seem like it's like learning a new language, like French or German. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear, "Oh yes, I went and learned German," that makes me think, oh my goodness, you've learned everything there is to know about German, so you can go to Germany and have a conversation with a German person without them thinking, "Oh my gosh, that's stupid American." But it's not the same thing with computer programming. With computer programming, if you learn a little bit, you can actually do something with that. The second you learn something, you can turn around and make something with it. Another problem that we have is that according to a Time magazine article by Keith Wagstaff, only 19% of American students take place in any sort of computer science class while they're in school. Also, according to the same article, those computer science classes are more often than not just how to type or how to use Microsoft Word, which is pretty easy to pick up over the course of a semester or even a year. You see, we have this lack of knowledge and of knowledgeable faculty to actually teach the required computer science and computer programming courses. But why is there such a lack? Well, according to a chart by Ji Gu in the 2013 Journal of Educational Technology and Society, only 40% of teachers use technology successfully on an everyday basis. That's compared to almost every single teen and young adult that uses technology very successfully on an everyday basis. See, we don't have very many qualified people who are able to teach these programming courses. So how do we fix this? Well, there's a two-part solution. First, we have to call, we have to write, we have to speak and present to our school board representatives, to our teachers, our principals, anyone who's engaged in the school system and can actually help us make a change. If you yourself are engaged in the school system, I mean, you can speak to yourself, but for all intents and purposes, you can kind of skip that part. And if you need some facts to tell them, I've got two for you. First, In the 1986 Communications ACM journal, Alonzo Ochoa states that learning to code actually stimulates creativity and increases test scores in students, in and out of the classroom. So your SATs and your driving exam, both of those scores will increase if you know how to code. Also, according to an article by Richard Hoffman, who has a PhD in education, in the 1983 Journal of Learning Disabilities, he said that learning to code, especially in children with learning disabilities, it will increase the creative functions of their brain and allow them to, again, have increased test scores, but also have increased success both in and out of the classroom. Seeing a pattern here? So, all that aside, how do we contact these people? Well, code.org, the web address is code.org, on their stats page, which I accessed in October of this year, they have letter skeletons and statistics and presentations that you can use to bring to your school board, to bring to these principals and teachers, and show them that we actually mean business. We actually want this. But if we do all this, we have to do part two. If we fight for this, if we really, really want to get computer science courses that are real computer science courses in our school's curriculums that actually count towards graduation, we have to know how to code ourselves. Now, I promise I'm not asking you to do anything drastic. You don't have to go out and be the next Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, I promise. But if we're going to fight for this, we should at least practice what we preach, right? Now, thankfully, there are a lot of different ways to learn how to code very, very easily and very, very affordably. According to a DIY Genius article by Kyle Pierce, there's a number of different ways to learn. But I'm going to tell you the top two right now. First is a place called Code Academy. It's an online resource that specializes in teaching beginners, people with no experience, how to code and how to write a program from start to finish. A few years back, they had what was called their Code Year, in which they encouraged people to take their courses throughout the course of the year and learn how to program from start to finish. During that year, over 450,000 people completed the Code Year. Completed, start to finish. Knowing nothing to having a finished product. That's a lot of people. Also, another resource that I mentioned earlier, code.org, the web address is code.org, hosts what is called an hour of code every year, where, like Code Academy, they encourage people, just for 1 hour, to go on their website and take a short tutorial where, again, from start to finish, you'll learn how to code a program and have one to call your very own. If that's not convincing enough, last year, President Obama took time out of his busy schedule to participate in the Hour of Code. If the President of the United States, whether you like him or not, took time out of his schedule to learn how to code for an hour, I'd say it's pretty important. But if online classes aren't your thing, and I understand they're not a thing for a lot of people, we're kind of lucky. We go to a college that has an entire major dedicated to learning how to program a computer. Now, you don't have to go out and change your majors, although if you did, I would be happy. Because they have beginner courses as well, where just like in these online courses, you can walk through from start to finish how to program something, but you'll also have a teacher by your side, helping you out and giving you hints where you need them. And it'll count towards your credit hours. You can graduate with extra hours, or that extra elective that you didn't really want to take another class for, by taking one of these classes. It's a win-win. So, I know I threw a lot at you, but hopefully, by this point, you've been able to realize that we do have a problem in America with not knowing how to code. And hopefully you've been able to realize what the cause of all of it was. And I really, really hope that throughout the course of the speech, you've been persuaded to go and affect change in your community. You see, it's amazing to think that computers run our world. They do our banking, they do our research, they do our socializing, and yet we have no idea how they work for the most part. And even fewer of us know how to make it work for us. You see, in a world that is constantly progressing further and further and further in the realm of science and technology, if we want our great nation to keep up with the rest of the countries of the world, we have to jump on the train and start teaching ourselves how to do these things that will allow us to continue to go forward in the realm of science and technology. You see, a lot of people think that software is about computers, and I can see why they say that. People like me sit behind a computer in the dark, generally with an energy drink, because it's obviously late at night, because that's when our most productive work is, I think. Maybe it's just me again. And we're sitting there with just a computer, writing computer code. But software is about more than just computers. Have you ever heard of BMW Assist, or Ford Sync, or OnStar? See, these are computer software programs that have been made to help people. Those programs can mean the difference between saying, wow, I hope you feel better, and saying goodbye to a friend who's been in a wreck. They can mean the difference between looking back at old pictures of a friend and laughing about the good times, and looking back at old pictures of a friend trying to ID that friend after a car wreck. These kind of software, they're the reason why I feel comfortable leaving my home in Columbia and making this drive to and from Clemson multiple times a year, because I know that my family can be assured that I'll be safe, and I can be assured that I'll be safe. Software is about much more than computers. If you take nothing else away from this talk, nothing at all, you need to take this one thing. Computer programming is about more than just computers. Computer programming is about people, about helping real, live people. Thank you.